Welcome to a tale that'll crawl under your skin and stay there. Tonight, we dive into the haunted heart of Galveston, Texas, where the ghosts of the 1900 hurricane still linger, waiting in the shadows of the Tremont House and Ashton Villa. This is a story of fear, loss, and something that doesn't let go. Buckle up and don't look in the mirror. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button to join our crew for more spine-chilling stories every week. Don't forget to like this video, drop a comment with your thoughts or your own creepy encounters, and share this with anyone who loves a good scare. Your support keeps these tales alive. Now, let's step into the dark. This is The Haunting of Galveston, and trust me, you're not ready for what's coming. The air in Galveston was heavy, thick with the kind of damp that clung to your skin like a second shadow. It was October, and the island city still hummed with the memory of the 1900 hurricane, a beast that swallowed thousands and left scars on the soul of every street. I'd come to the Tremont House Hotel for a weekend escape, chasing history, not ghosts. But as I stepped into the lobby, the chandelier flickered, and a chill slithered down my spine, sharp as a blade. My room was on the third floor, number 313, with a view of the Strand's old brick facades. The clerk, a wiry man with eyes like faded marbles, handed me an iron key, not a card, and muttered, "Sleep light." I laughed it off, but his stare stayed with me, heavy as the key in my pocket. The elevator creaked, groaning like it was waking something better left asleep. When the doors opened, the hallway smelled of salt and rot, though the gulf was blocks away. I settled in, the four-poster bed creaking under my weight. The room was all velvet and polished wood, but the air felt wrong, like it was holding its breath. I tried to read, but the pages blurred, my eyes darting to the corners where shadows seemed to shift. Then came the sound, a soft thump, like a child's bare foot on hardwood. I froze. The thump came again, closer, then a giggle, high and fleeting. From under the bed, heart pounding, I grabbed my phone, its light weak against the dark. Nothing under the bed but dust and a faint scratch mark on the floor, like something had been dragged. I told myself it was the old building settling, but the giggle came again, now from the closet. The door was ajar, though I swore I'd closed it. I yanked it open, expecting coats or hangers, but found only a small, tattered shoe, caked in dried mud, the kind a kid might have worn in 1900 when the flood came. The lights flickered and the room went cold, my breath clouding in front of me. A whisper brushed my ear. "Stay." I spun, but no one was there. The window rattled, though the night outside was still. Then the door to the hallway slammed shut, the lock clicking with a finality that turned my stomach. I tugged at it, pounded, but it wouldn't budge. The giggle returned, joined by another, then a chorus, circling me like wolves. I stumbled back, tripping over that damn shoe, which was now in the middle of the room. The walls pulsed, or maybe it was my heart, but I swear I saw faces in the wallpaper. Small, pale, waterlogged faces with hollow eyes. A child's voice sang, soft and wrong, "The water's coming, the water's coming." I smelled it then, brine and decay, like the gulf itself was seeping through the floorboards. The mirror across the room fogged, and in it I saw them, three children drenched, their clothes torn, seaweed tangled in their hair. They stood behind me, but when I turned, the room was empty. In the mirror, they reached out, fingers gray and bloated, mouths moving with no sound. I screamed, backing into the bed, and the lights went out. When they flickered back on, the room was silent, the air warm again. The door was unlocked, the shoe gone. I grabbed my bag and ran, not stopping until I was out of the Tremont, the clerk's knowing eyes on my back. Down the street, Ashton Villa loomed, its windows glinting like eyes. I didn't look too long. I could still hear the giggles faint on the wind, following me into the night. The Galveston night pressed against me as I stumbled away from the Tremont House, the air thick with salt and something sour like the breath of the island itself. My sneakers slapped the uneven sidewalk along the Strand, where gas lamps cast long, jittery shadows that seemed to move just just a step ahead of me. I told myself I was done, that I'd grab my car and drive straight back to Houston, but the giggles, those high, glassy giggles, followed, faint as a whisper but sharp enough to cut through the hum of distant waves. I turned down 23rd Street, my breath ragged, the weight of my bag pulling at my shoulder. Ashton Villa stood ahead, its red brick glowing sickly under the moonlight like it was soaked in something darker than paint. I'd read about it, haunted, they said, by storm victims and the Betancourt sisters who'd lived there when the 1900 hurricane drowned the city. I didn't want to believe it, but my skin prickled and my eyes kept darting to the mansion's windows, half expecting to see those waterlogged faces from the hotel mirror staring back. A gust swept through, carrying the smell of wet earth and rot. The street was empty, but I felt watched, like the city itself was leaning in close. Then I heard it, a soft scrape like a small foot dragging across pavement. I spun, but nothing was there, just the flicker of a street lamp and a crumpled newspaper skittering across the road. My heart hammered and I quickened my pace, the parking lot where I'd left my car only a block away. But the scrape came again, closer, joined by a faint hum, a child's voice twisting an old nursery rhyme. The water's deep, the water's cold. I broke into a run, my bag bouncing against my hip. The lot was in sight, my beat-up sedan glinting under a lone floodlight. But as I reached for my keys, the air turned heavy, like I'd plunged underwater. My chest tightened, and the world blurred, the edges of my vision rippling like a pond, disturbed by a stone. The giggles swelled, now a chorus, circling me, and I swear I felt tiny, cold fingers brush my wrist. I fumbled the keys, dropping them with a clink. As I bent to grab them, I saw it, a puddle spreading across the asphalt, black and oily, though the sky was clear. In its surface, reflections moved. 3 small figures, their heads bowed, hair dripping, hands clasped as if in prayer. I stumbled back, my throat raw from a scream I didn't realize I'd let out. The puddle grew, creeping toward my shoes, and the hum became a chant, louder, insistent. Stay with us, stay with us. I scrambled to my car, yanking the door open and slamming it shut. The engine roared to life, but as I peeled out of the lot, the rearview mirror showed something that made my blood freeze. In the back seat, just for a second, were those children, their pale faces bloated, eyes like empty wells, mouths open in a silent scream. I swerved, nearly hitting a curb, and when I looked again, the seat was empty, but the smell lingered, brine, decay, and something sweet like flowers left too long in a vase. I didn't stop driving until I hit the mainland, the causeway lights blurring through tears I hadn't noticed. Galveston shrank in my mirrors, but the giggles didn't. They echoed in my head, soft and relentless, as if the island had claimed a piece of me, tugging it back to the dark, hungry water. The causeway stretched behind me, a thin ribbon of concrete swallowed by the black gulf on either side. But even as Galveston's lights faded, the weight of it clung to me. My hand shook on the steering wheel, the hum of the engine barely drowning out the echo of those giggles, now faint but burrowing into my skull like damp rot. The dashboard clock blinked 10:34 p.m., and the road to Houston was empty, just me and the dark. I kept my eyes fixed ahead, afraid to glance at the rearview mirror, afraid of what might be staring back. The air in the car felt wrong, too cold, like I'd left the AC on full blast, though the vents were off. My breath fogged, curling in the dim glow of the dashboard. I cranked the heat, but it didn't help. The smell was still there, brine and decay, now mixed with a faint, sickening sweetness, like lilies wilting in a flooded grave. I tried the radio, desperate for noise, but static hissed through every station, broken by a faint, rhythmic hum. The water's deep, the water's cold. I slammed the power off, my heart jackhammering. A mile later, the headlights caught something on the road, a small, sodden shape like a child's shoe, the same tattered one from the Tremont. I swerved, tires squealing, but when I looked back, the road was clear. My pulse roared in my ears, and I gripped the wheel tighter, willing myself to focus. Just get to Houston, just get home. But the car felt heavy, sluggish, like something was dragging it back toward the island. The engine sputtered, and the lights flickered, plunging me into darkness for a heartbeat before they snapped back on. Then I heard it, a soft thump from the trunk, trunk. I froze, my foot easing off the gas. Another thump, deliberate, like a small fist knocking. I told myself it was something loose, a bag, a tire iron. But the giggles started again, closer now, not in my head, but inside the car, curling from the back seat. I didn't look. I couldn't. The knocking grew louder, faster, joined by a scraping like nails on metal. The air thickened, pressing against my chest, and that chant returned, whispered right against my ear. Stay with us. Stay with us. I slammed on the brakes, the car skidding to a stop on the shoulder. My hands fumbled for the door, and I stumbled out into the night, the Gulf's salty breath stinging my face. The trunk was closed, the car silent, but the darkness around me pulsed, alive with something I couldn't see. I popped the trunk, my hands trembling, expecting, God, I didn't know what. It was empty, just my spare tire and a crumpled water bottle. But as I slammed it shut, the rearview mirror caught my eye through the window. 3 small figures sat in the back seat, their heads tilted, water dripping from their hair onto the upholstery, pooling in the cracks. I ran, didn't think, didn't look back, just tore down the highway, the car abandoned behind me. The giggles followed, weaving through the wind, and the road seemed to stretch forever, the lights of Houston never getting closer. My phone was dead, though I swore it had been charged. The air grew colder, wetter, and I felt it, a tiny, icy hand brush mine, then another, tugging at my sleeve. I screamed, flailing, but nothing was there, just the endless road and the distant, hungry roar of the Gulf. When I finally saw headlights, a trucker maybe, I was sobbing, my shoes soaked as if I'd waded through a tide. He stopped, his face pale as he took me in, muttering about another one from Galveston. I didn't ask what he meant. I just climbed in, silent, as he drove me toward the city. But in the side mirror, I saw them one last time. 3 children standing on the road, their eyes gleaming like oil slicks, watching me go. The trucker didn't see them. I didn't tell him. Some part of me knew they'd be waiting, patient as the tide, for the next time I closed my eyes. The trucker's cab smelled of stale coffee and motor oil, a faint comfort against the cold dread still coiled in my gut. He didn't talk much, just kept his eyes on the road, the hum of the engine filling the silence. I sat hunched in the passenger seat, my hands clenched, trying to shake the image of those 3 children in the mirror, their bloated faces, their dripping hair, their eyes like holes in the world. The highway stretched toward Houston, but it felt like I was still trapped on that island, the Gulf's hungry pull tugging at something deep inside me. The trucker glanced over, his weathered face half lit by the dashboard glow. "You okay, kid?" he asked, voice rough but not unkind. I nodded, though my throat was too tight to speak. He didn't push, just muttered, "Galveston does that to folks. Seen it before." His words hung heavy, and I wanted to ask what he meant, but the memory of his "another one" comment stopped me cold. I stared out the window instead, where the night pressed close, the stars swallowed by clouds that seemed to churn like waves. Then the radio crackled, unprompted. Static hissed, sharp and jagged, before a child's voice cut through, singing that same warped nursery rhyme. "The water's deep, the water's cold, it holds you tight, it won't let go." I lunged for the dial, twisting it off, but the voice lingered, echoing in my head. The trucker didn't react, like he hadn't heard it, but his knuckles whitened on the wheel. I wanted to scream, to demand if he felt it too, the air turning thick, the cab shrinking, the smell of brine creeping back. A mile later, the truck slowed, headlights catching a figure on the road's edge. Small, hunched, dripping wet. My stomach lurched. It was one of them, a girl, her dress torn, seaweed tangled in her braid. She stood motionless, head tilted, staring straight at me. I grabbed the trucker's arm, shouting, "You see her? Right there." He squinted, frowning. "Ain't nobody there, kid." But she was there, her lips moving, forming words I couldn't hear but felt in my bones. "Stay with us." The trucker gunned the engine and the figure vanished as we roared past. My heart pounded so hard I thought it had burst, and I kept checking the side mirror, expecting her to be there, running after us. The road stayed empty, but the cab grew colder, the windows fogging despite the heat blasting. I wiped the glass with my sleeve, and my breath caught. A tiny handprint appeared on the outside, then another, smearing trails like someone was dragging their fingers along the window. I turned to the trucker, desperate. "You gotta stop. Something's wrong." He shook his head, eyes fixed ahead. "We stop. You're on your own. I I don't mess with Galveston's ghosts. His voice cracked, and I saw it then, a flicker of fear in his eyes, like he knew more than he was saying. The handprints spread, more now, small and frantic, covering the glass. The giggles returned, louder, coming from inside the cab behind my seat. I didn't dare look back. The truck hit a bump, and something rolled under my feet. A small, muddy shoe, identical to the one from the Tremont. I kicked it away, bile rising in my throat. The trucker cursed, swerving as the headlights dimmed, then flared. For a split second, the road ahead wasn't pavement, but water, black and endless, lapping at the tires. I blinked, and it was gone, but the sound of waves stayed slushing in my ears. We were almost to Houston, the city's glow faint on the horizon, when the trucker's radio sparked again. This time, it wasn't a song. It was my name, whispered in that same childish voice, over and over like a prayer. The trucker heard it too. His face went gray, and he floored the gas. "Don't answer," he hissed. "Don't ever answer." But the whispers grew, filling the cab, and I felt it. A cold, wet hand on my neck, tugging, pulling me back toward the dark, toward Galveston, toward the water that never let